I think we had a good bye week practices, pretty physical. A little bit different than what would a normal bye week would be in season because it's coming after game one. But like the response of our players, I thought we came in and really put in some good work, got some extra conditioning in, and I thought I had a really good week. Now we got to start this afternoon, with Texas, and we've got to make some strides this week and obviously improve a lot between game one and game two.
When it comes to Texas, obviously the guy that kind of stands out on the offensive side in terms of he's been there forever, it seems like. Sam Ellinger, what makes him so special as a quarterback and so hard to defend?
Well, he's got multiple attributes that makes him so tough to defend. Number one, he's got speed. He's elusive. I've seen him finish off runs. When he runs the ball, he'll pull it down and run over guys. Doesn't always slide in the open. Very accurate with the ball. Does a great job in the RPO game and in the play-action game. He's got two big wideouts that he can throw to. And, I think they've got some really good tight ends. Always talented at running back. But, the other thing that Sam has is he's got experience. He's led fourth quarter comebacks in 2-minute drives. He's done it against Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. He's done it against Texas Tech 2 years ago or 3 years ago. 2 years ago, lost my years right there, but it was before I got here. But I know he did it then. So not only the experience, but he has the confidence because he's had success in some of those situations. So all of those is the reason he's in the Heisman conversation and up there at the top of that ballot right now at the beginning of this year, and rightfully so.
Go to Max Olson.
I asked this because of the game that got canceled last Friday. Just how challenging has it been over the past month to just manage your offensive line between injuries and guys that have had to miss time? Just how hard is it to keep those numbers right and not get in danger of getting down to 7?
Yeah, Max, that's a position too that on top of not only just managing, but you're trying to hope for chemistry, the communication with those guys up front, not only in the passing game, in the protections, but in the run game as well, because more teams are now run blitzing and run dogging, as we call it. And so the communication there has to be really good. I think the other area that comes out in is the secondary, which is very similar in terms of that, the importance of communication. But, trying to manage those numbers, it also is difficult in this time. But also what it does is not only affect your offense, it affects your defense because of how you practice and what you can do in good-on-good situations against your defense. But if you're down around that number, the obvious statement that you don't have scout team offensive linemen is pretty true. So it affects the way you practice quite a bit if you get down to those numbers in an offensive line room.
Does it scare you a little that if you get close to that number, but you still play and then you run into some injuries during a game, you're going to be in bad shape? You can't just call off a game in the middle of it.
Yeah, and you can't just flip over a D lineman in the middle of it either.
Go to Ronald Clark.
I know you talked about before how you would rather, have some games in these bye weeks, but how beneficial was it to have, sort of that additional week to go over what you guys had last week, but also to deep dive into Texas?
I think you have the benefit of both, correcting a lot of the mental mistakes that were made in game one. You're able to get good practices in more than I would on a normal bye week. And then, very end of the week to just introduce Texas a little bit. I think they're all benefits. We did stay healthy during the bye week, so that was good because you always kind of run that risk as well. So, yeah, I think they're all benefits for us.
How important is this game, as far as setting sort of the tone, the tempo for you guys going into conference play?
Yeah, I wouldn't put all that on it. I think it's the first conference game. I think it's a top 10 opponent. Tremendous challenge for our coaching staff and our players as well. But, the goal to be 1-0 would be there no matter who we play this week. But it just so happens to be, Texas, a team that's, everybody thinks is going to contend for the title. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. They're a very good team, very good program, very good coaching staff, and yeah, I think everything that they've gotten so far, just in terms of preseason publicity, is every bit worth it. They've got two new coordinators that are very, very successful. Before they've gotten to Texas, a head coach that's been very successful in his tenure of being a head coach. So, those guys will be a tremendous challenge for our staff as well as our team, and they're a top 10 team. There's no question about it.
Go to Don Williams.
Matt, at the end of last season, last winter, I guess one of the positives going into this year was the home schedule that you had, with Texas coming here and Oklahoma coming here and theoretically Arizona coming here. How much of a letdown is it, or how much do you lose by not being able to have 50,000 plus people here on Saturday to give you the home field advantage? And kind of as to follow up, what did it feel like last Saturday night in a stadium that was, with 11,000 people there?
Yeah, Don, I'll answer the first question directly. A letdown? No, because I don't have any control over it. COVID-19, not any of us have any control over that. And it would be nice to have a full stadium, 60,000 for every one of these home games. Certainly, when we had an extra one this year, just in terms of the schedule. So that's just, kind of a byproduct of COVID-19 that we don't have any control over. So I'm going to try to save my emotional energy for things that I can control, and that's not one of them. We certainly do wish we had more Red Raiders in the stadium and in the stands, more students. But I think last week it was the first home game and 25% capacity. It was different. When you could hear your opponent a lot more, you can hear other sidelines a little bit more. My guess is that this Saturday that number will be up, and the intensity and the volume will be up a little bit more because it's Big 12, because it's Texas, and I think we'll have more students there is my hope, and we do. We need it, and we need it to be allowed as it can be, biggest home field advantage as we can have. But it is a different feeling, and it is a different vibe, just because you're used to having sellouts here in this stadium and a lot more full, especially the lower bowl and just the loudness and how it kind of echoes. I think it kind of echoes in our stadium. Not quite as much with not as many fans, but that's kind of obvious.
Go to John Sokoloff.
Hey, Matt. So based on Allen's performance last week, how have you guys kind of dissected that film, and what are you kind of hoping to see him build on from this week's game against Texas?
Well, I think he played well. I think you always try to correct any mistakes that are made, but I think there were a lot of positives out of it. We put some stuff on his plate more in game one than we had done the first 3 games last year, and I think he handled it very well. He'll continue to get that moving forward. Allen, I still think, has a very high ceiling. I think he's going to continue to improve as the year goes on. A couple of them were physical mistakes, and you just hope that timing and time in practice and with the receivers will iron out some of those.
Go to David Collier.
Hey, Coach. I know it's only one week of game film, but can you learn anything new from what the new OC and DC are doing there at Texas this year?
Yeah, a lot different on defense, just because of the philosophy and the scheme. Offensively, a lot more similar than different. I think what you have is you have 2 very good coordinators, and a third being Jay Boulware as a special teams coordinator. You have three coordinators there at Texas that have had tremendous success at other places, and I would assume that it's a combination of what they've done and what's been very successful on offense. And when you are at Texas on offense, it is a lot more similar. Tom has been very, very successful at Houston and at Texas on offense, and they're not going to stray too far from it. But I think only one game doesn't give you it. Only one game doesn't give you a huge sample of what could be different as the year moves on offense. But I think defensively, you do see a philosophical change.
And offensively, I mean, they lose so much at wide receiver, and then you go into this game, and I think their first four wide receivers in that last game hadn't caught a ball for them at all last year. I mean, does that make it difficult to game plan defensively for the unknown there with so many new faces at receiver?
No, because those guys are really good players. We saw them on tape last Saturday night against UTEP. Very successful, very good. Just jersey numbers change.
Go to Jarrett Johnson.
Hey, Coach.
Hi.
In the opener, y'all had several guys, out or unavailable, and then I think last week it was 6 was the update in terms of active positive cases. Can you give us an update of who or how many positive active cases there are right now?
Currently,
Yes, currently.
not many. I don't know, when's that report going out.
Going out this afternoon. I haven't seen the numbers yet, but
That's I can't steal Dowdy's thunder. He's going to get to send that out this afternoon. It's the only thing he does all week, guys. I'm just kidding. Is it better than it was?
Yeah. Do you feel like you have more guys back?
Yep.
All right. And then in terms of the offensive line, the question was asked earlier, but how do you feel like they played in the opener, and what do you expect coming up this week from those guys?
Well, first of all, let's understand that I think they did play well, but the challenge this Saturday is going to be tremendously more, what do you say? I don't know. Challenge for them. I mean, Texas is really good. They got, they're massive inside. 46 is the best outside backer in the league. He can rush the passer. He can play the run. He's gotten bigger than last year. I said that last year, at Thanksgiving week when we played him last year. Joseph is a really, really good player. He's somebody that you got to know where he is every down, whether it's in the run game or it's the passing game. And I think it's something that gives teams problems, because what are you going to do? You're going to slide to him? You're going to chip him? Are you going to single him? You're asking for issues. All those kind of things. You're going to run at him. You're going to run away from him. He poses a big problem for us, for every team in the Big 12. He's a force. He's a really, really good player.
go to Ryan King.
Hey, Coach. I was curious, how important is being aggressive when it comes to putting a game plan together, when it comes to play calling for you and your coaching staff? How important is being aggressive whenever, we talked about the Houston Baptist when you guys were, right there on the goal line going forward. For you as a head coach, you guys as a coach staff, how important is it for you to be aggressive in your coaching styles?
Yeah, I think it's important, but it's important if it's your style. If that's who you are as either the head coach or the offensive play caller, defensive play caller, special teams, if that's your style, be who you are. And so when you say, is it important? It's important if that's who you are. If that's not who you are, it's not real important to that person. So it's a little bit of who we are, really, in all three phases. So, I think it's important to be us.
And how does that factor into a game like this, rivalry game at home, a top 10 opponent? Where does that factor into a game like this? Where does it change when it's a more a high-profile opponent, and there's going to be opportunities in the game where if we're aggressive here, we can take this game away?
Well, I think there's certain moments in each game, whether it's quote higher profile, which is your quote, not mine, or doesn't matter who the opponent is. I think there's moments in every single game where you have chances to put the game away with an aggressive play call or an aggressive decision, and those are certainly things that come up in every game. And so, to say that again, I'm going to use your term, higher profile game merits more aggressiveness. I don't think so. I think it's who you are and what your MO is going to be, and how you're game planning that game throughout the week to try to get it to play out in your favor.
Go to Billy Watson.
Hey, Coach, just going off what Jared asked, but might be a different question. But do you expect to have any of the guys back that missed the HBU game?
I'm not going to answer that question. I mean, now you're asking me to go through, and it's a fair question, but you're asking me to go through everybody that didn't suit up and tell you are they available or not. Quite frankly, guys, until that becomes a Big 12 rule, I don't think you're going to get any coach to say that, because there is a competitive advantage of that. So, I mean, I love the question. It's good. I would ask it too if I was in your spot. But until I'm told to do that, we'll continue to go down this path. And every coach in the Big 12 every coach in the country is going to do that. The NFL is different.
Go to Eric Kelly, and then we'll wrap with Don Williams.
Coach, two more for you. Guy who had maybe his best game of the season last year against Texas, Keyshawn, then carried it in, had a touchdown against HBU. What did that big game last year do kind of for his confidence, and how now does he do that again against Texas?
Yeah, I think Keyshawn played well last year against Texas. He played well against Houston Baptist. My guess is that propelled him into offseason, where he had a really good offseason. He gained weight. He's noticeably stronger and bigger. We've all known about his speed. He's got track speed. Obviously, if you're on Wes Kitley's track team and you're a contributor to be in a national championship, the guy's got speed. But he's playing with a lot of confidence. I'm very proud of Keyshawn, and my hope is that he will continue this throughout the year, and his role continues to expand, and his production continues to be really consistent. But I'm very proud of Keyshawn.
Talking about Texas and how big they are inside, somewhere where you guys had success last year was through the air. What's kind of your breakdown of their secondary? Where have they improved? Where are areas that maybe they stayed the same?
Well, I think they're a talented secondary. They've got, corners that have played a lot of football, a lot. Stearns has played a lot, and he's a good player, really good player. So they're solid back there, and I expect that to be a major challenge for our receivers this week.
We'll go to missed one, Brady King.
Hey, Coach. How much do you focus on last year's game against Texas, if much at all? And what kind of takeaways do you have from your team that are helping you prepare for this game?
Yeah, I think, you look at last year's game, and certainly from that game to now, you have 2 out of the 3 coordinators for Texas is different. So I think there's some things that you can just kind of throw out that's not real applicable for this year. And so you're just now going off of one game and a guy's history. And certainly, for us, them looking at us, we have all 3 coordinators the same. So I would assume that they can look at it through a different lens than we're looking at that game from last year.
And then a big focus during bye week was working with your secondary. You're 6 days out, or 5, 6. How does your defense and secondary look physically and mentally right now?
Well, I think last week was good, a good week, but we got to continue to put it on tape and put it on the field for 9 more Saturdays. So we'll all evaluate it as we go throughout the season.
We'll finish up with Don.
Matt, what does Bijan Robinson look like to you? What stands out to you about him?
Good balance, strong runner, ability to make guys miss, but also run through tackles.
And on the subject of your linebackers, at whatever point you get back Schooler, considering Merriweather made plays last Saturday night, and Randall made a lot of plays last Saturday night, and Rico is Rico, what kind of rotation might you kind of envision? Or, I mean, since you have 4 guys that seem to be kind of plus
Yeah, I think Don, you'll see them all, but just don't think that Keith has solidified that in terms of the rotation exactly yet. We'll probably have that down by the end of the week, but I think you'll see them all. The other one that you didn't mention was Morgenstern. He's played well. He played well Saturday. He's a good player. Gives us a lot of versatility. Randall and Morgenstern can play inside. They can both play outside. So I think you've got a room and a position that is competitively better than last year. We've got more depth than last year, and so that's a good problem to have.
I wanted to ask one more question. Following on Morgenstern, just looking at his bio from Duke, I think he had 7 tackles last year, and the word on him was, great special teams guy, but didn't have a lot of stats. What did y'all see that has enabled him to be on the field at linebacker and get as many snaps as he got Saturday night when, like I say, just based on looking at his bio, it didn't appear he got a ton of playing time on defense at Duke.
Yeah, Don. I probably can't really comment on exactly what happened at Duke. Derek may be able to talk about that more. But I think I'm proud of Jacob. He come here and he's learned our defense. He's fit right in, and we know that we needed to have more competitive depth there. But he gives you some options because you can play him inside and he can play outside. And all I know is he's done everything we've asked him to do since he's been here. He's athletic and he's smart, but he gives tremendous effort. He is a football junkie. He's always in the building, always watching extra tape. And so guys like that usually find their way on the field. And if you're talented enough and you're good enough and you play with the high motor and great effort, you end up with tackles. And I think Jacob's fit right in with this program since the day he got here.
Yeah, I definitely I think it gave us an opportunity to work on all the mistakes and corrections we had from HBU, and also, give guys additional practice time. I mean, we had several guys throughout fall camp, have a few weeks in quarantine or get sick or have close contact. So it was a chance for us to, get all of our extra practice in. Gave us the bye week to have, more physical practices than we typically would, especially a bye week later in the season. So since we had this bye week so early, it was honestly kind of like half of corrections, half of like, hey, let's have more fall camp kind of contact practices. Let's get better. Let's grind. Because, we were thankful to come out pretty fresh out of the Houston Baptist game. So, yeah, this bye week was definitely unlike any other one we've had. And I think our coaching staff had an excellent plan for us, and I think we had a great week of preparation.
Go to Phil.
Hey, Eli. So I'm curious, with the limited capacity in the stands, did home field sort of seem like slightly less than an advantage as years past?
Right, yeah. Anytime, the Jones isn't completely packed out, we're definitely at a disadvantage. It definitely is weird not to, feed off the emotions and the energy of the fans, especially for me since we're on defense and whatnot. It's definitely there's no simulating that. There's no replacing that energy, that feeling of when the crowd goes crazy if you make a great play. But it's just something, we got to deal with and everyone's got to deal with. The advantages are that we have better communication on the field. You're able to actually hear your coaches from the sideline screaming at you. So, I mean, there are some advantages, but obviously the greatest disadvantage is that you lose, the energy and the momentum and everything that the crowd brings. And we definitely miss that, but it is what it is. We just got to be safe and go through all the proper protocols.
Yep. And then also, how would you sort of assess your guys' play as pass rushers in the opener against Houston Baptist?
Yeah, I think I think as a defensive unit, I think we were able to get after the quarterback pretty well. You can tell it was our first game, and you're not allowed to hit the quarterback in practice, obviously. So it's a lot different whenever you're running full speed at a guy and you're able to tackle him. Now, you weren't really able to simulate bringing quarterback down to the ground and stuff like that. And I will give the quarterback for HBU credit. He was pretty evasive in that pocket, pretty slippery. He was good at just giving you a duck or a dive and getting out of there. So I think the D line did a moderate job of getting after the quarterback, but when we get back there, we got to finish those tackles, and we have to make a greater impact this week. That's for sure.
Go to Ronald Clark.
You just talked about the pass rush. Texas, when they played their first game this season, they threw for nearly 500 yards as a team. How important is the role of, you guys have to play in this game for you guys to slow down their offense?
Absolutely. I mean, you said it, and everyone in this building completely thinks that Sam Ehlinger has the potential to win the Heisman, and we want to give him all that credit. He's a great football player, and we know we're going to have to get him off his mark, make him feel uncomfortable, and we're going to have to get after him with the pass rush. I mean, that's just a point right there, and just getting back there is not good enough. We're going to have to get him on the ground. And we're going to have to make them feel uncomfortable, and it's going to have to be all game. Obviously, we didn't do a well enough job against that at HBU, and that's something we definitely would like to improve on this week. And we have quite a challenge, and it's going to be extremely exciting. So,
Go to Ryan King.
Hey, Eli, with you kind of touched on there a little with Ehlinger. What is as a pass rusher, what's one of the toughest parts of getting him down? I know he's not the fastest guy, but he's more like tough to tackle. What are some of those? You played against a lot of those type of guys, Kyler Murray and et cetera, around the Big 12. What makes Ehlinger tough to bring down in his own way?
right. I mean, he's just so strong. I mean, obviously, I don't know anything he's doing in the weight room, but once you put your hands on him, you can tell him, like, this guy has, some incredible strength, especially for a quarterback. So I think the fact that he's always running hard, always has a good body lean whenever he's running. He knows he's trying to, fall forward if he is falling. But he's just really strong. He's got a strong core and strong lower body. So you definitely have to get both hands on him. You have to really put a shoulder into him, because an arm tackle is just not going to do it for him. And it's exciting to play, and he's always been pretty good in that pocket. So. But he'll give us a chance, and that's what we're looking forward to on the defensive side of the ball, specifically the D-line. So.
And how are you guys building on those goal line stops, between the stop and then the interception on the goal line? In a game like this, where I was asked earlier about, they put up a lot of points, they put up a lot of yards. How important in this game specifically is it for you guys to be a bend don't break defense?
Right. I mean, and that's going to be all game. We're going to need big stops throughout the game, just because of how explosive UT is. So you never know when that stop is going to come in and play a major role in the game. In fact, I mean, think about those stops last week. We won by 2 points. If we didn't have either of those stops, maybe we do, maybe we don't win the game. It just definitely puts you in a bad position. But we're definitely going to have to be relentless and bend, don't break, whether it's goal line stops or third downs. It's just trying to get that explosive offense off the field and just give more chances for our offense.
Go to Eric Kelly.
Eli, when you give up 600 yards as a defense, a lot of it through the air, is it just as simple as guys getting beat in the secondary, or is it more complex and more, I guess, blame being able to put on multiple position groups?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little unfair just to blame one position group on the defense or on the team, really. We play as a unit. We're a collective group, and there's 11 people out there. It's not just one person. But we definitely have to do better as a defense, and on maybe if we do give up a big play, rebounding and bouncing back, and not let it cost us 2 or cost us more plays down the line. Because that's just what happens. I mean, you play these explosive offenses, and I do think HBU could fall under that category without a doubt, with their scheme and who they have at coaches and playmakers. But whenever you play these explosive offenses, they're going to get 1 or 2 on you. You can't let it affect you. You can't hang your head about it. You just got to forget about it and play the next play. So I think collectively as a defense, we need to improve on handling tough situations better. And also, throughout practice, I mean, it's just a constant focus of us trying to get a pass rush, try to make that quarterback feel uncomfortable, and us get it figured out in the back end. And I know we will. Those guys work their tail off this bye week, and they're going to have a great week of preparation this week. So.
What's the biggest challenge of having a Big 12 game without having your usual three non-conference games to figure yourselves out? And like you mentioned, get used to hitting the quarterback and getting back there.
Right. Yeah. Just things like communication, audibles, tackling, all that kind of stuff is just really. I hate to say it, but it's really sloppy in the first few games of the year. Naturally, you just can't in the conditioning as well. You can't simulate game type feels. You can't simulate game conditioning either. I mean, whenever you're out there, it's just your adrenaline's pumping, and it's just something not like practice that you can compare it to. So there's just so much that goes on underneath the Saturday night lights that you just cannot quite simulate in practice, and it's something that playing Big 12, it's going to be a little different, playing so much higher competition early in the year than maybe we're typically used to. I know we play usually one or two pretty good Power 5 teams, but it'll definitely be interesting just starting off conference play, especially one of the probably the better teams in conference game number 2. So it'll be a great learning curve for us, and I think we're going to come out firing, and this bye week gave us a great week of preparation, extra preparation, and a lot to learn from HBU, and very thankful for that game, very thankful we came out with the W on that one.
Go to Jarrett Johnson.
Hey, Eli, like you mentioned earlier, y'all play explosive offenses. You're going to face adversity through the season. When y'all are facing that adversity and getting rocked this season, who do y'all look to on defense to kind of refocus and go out there and make a play?
It's collective, and we don't necessarily look to one person because we don't want that one person to maybe have the stress or the pressure to play outside of our defense or outside of what we're coached to do. Because once anyone does that, the people behind you and to the side of you can't really trust on you to do your job. So we try to come together collectively and just try to uplift and stay positive and just make sure everyone says or understands that if we do our job, man, we're tough to beat. And so I don't think we just look towards one person. I'd say I think the leaders on the defense kind of come together and try to calm everyone down and just say, hey, we're good enough. Our scheme's good enough. We just have to execute, and the rest will take care of itself.
Go back to Ronald Clark.
I know you don't want to look back too much, but obviously last year against Texas, you guys had some early success against them. What do you remember about those first couple of drives?
I think we jumped on them quick. I think maybe they weren't quite so quick to come out of the gate, or thought that maybe we would just slough because we weren't in a chance to win a bowl game. We had 4 wins going into our last season, so we couldn't go to a bowl game, and we could have just taken the day off, to be quite honest with you, and we didn't. And we jumped out on them early, and I think we kind of surprised them, and they turned it on. But I think the thing that really hurt us throughout that game was depth. I mean, we were really banged up, playing a lot of guys injured, amongst other things. And like I said, morale was low. I mean, at that point, we knew we were not going to be able to make a bowl game even if we beat UT by 70, It just wasn't going to be enough. So I think a lot of things kind of contributed to that game. And I'm just truly so excited to play UT with all hands on deck and about as healthy as we've ever probably been playing them. So incredibly looking forward to that. And thank you. I try not to look too far at it, but we have been watching a little bit of film, from last year against them. So it has been interesting to see. We had a few good first drives on them, but we need to improve on that and do a lot better this year.
I'm very confident that he can do whatever he wishes to do, really. Keyshawn, he's a big-time player. I feel like every time he has a big game, I seem to have a good game as well. And he just brings that energy to the team. And with that, it just energizes everybody around him. I feel like, he needs to play and get the ball in his hands, and he's good with it.
You guys had a lot of success through the air against UT last year. What did you guys do well against them that you guys need to replicate again this week?
Don't do too much. Just focus on what we got to do to get the ball in the best players' hands. Really, last game of the season last year when we played them, I feel like the offense started to roll a little better. First year with the offense with Coach Yost, so there was a lot of time that we had to put in with the offense and just getting the chemistry right. But now that we're playing Texas again, and I feel like with the offense, we're way more developed and we know exactly what we need to do to get points on the board.
And one more, sorry, sorry, Daddy. What kind of what switch flipped in that second half against HBU that allowed you guys to maybe get on the same page and get rolling a little bit offensively?
I feel like with HBU we came out hot, and after a while we started to slow down a little bit based on the opponent, in my opinion. And you know, you always need those games to see what you need to work on, see what you need to fix and adjust. And I feel like going into Texas, we're gonna be far more prepared to play our best game.
Go to Brady King.
Hey, Eric. So first off, you scored that first touchdown of the 2020 season against HBU. First off, how did that feel? And then from there, what did the receivers group and you learn from that game, or what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, what we learned from the game, I feel like we're really deep. We were able to, put our backups out there, and they were able to go to work. It's their first college games, and they didn't bat an eye. But me scoring the first touchdown, that was cool. First time scoring in that end zone, actually, as a Texas Tech Red Raider. So it was cool.
That's awesome. What were you kind of working on specifically during this bye week?
Just consistently catching the ball all times. Anytime the ball's in the air and it's coming towards me, make the play. Doesn't matter where it's at, high, low, behind me, just catch the ball. And I've just been focusing on the jugs. Me and Alan were running routes earlier during the bye week, and just working on my hands.
Go to Nathan.
You kind of talked about you guys went high and low against HBU a little bit, got started hot, went a little bit cold. Are there certain plays that you feel like get you guys going a little bit more? I know later on you guys kind of started with the short little quick bubble screens, that kind of thing. Do you think that helps open up the offense a little bit more for you guys?
Yeah, with screens and the bubbles, it keeps the defense honest. It makes them want to come press down, make sure they can shut down those plays so we can take the deep shots on them. And I feel like it opened up a lot.
Go to Ryan King.
Hey Eric, I was curious with you guys as an offense, when you're going against a team like Texas that can put up points and yards quickly, how much pressure do you guys feel as an offense to not just respond, but each time you get the ball, I know you always want to score, but specifically in a game like this, how much do you feel is on you guys to help out the defense, and put up those points and yards quickly and early too?
I feel like we have all the talent in the world to put as many points up as we can, and with that, we trust in Coach Yost to call the plays, and we run them. And Allen's gonna put the ball in the best players' hands in order to win. And at the end of the day, we just gotta do what we gotta do.
And you as a skill position player on offense, how much do you love whenever late in the game, Coach Wells, Coach Yost, the decision is going for it on fourth down, being aggressive in those situations?
Coach Wells, obviously, he trusts in the offense, to make those big plays, convert fourth downs, and we all gain confidence from that because we know, in certain situations we're probably gonna go for it, and with that, it's like we're not coming off the field. We gotta go get this first down and move the chains.
Go to Phil Mayer.
Hey, Eric, how did it feel working with Allen, with him coming back from that injury, and sort of what you've seen from him in his first game back?
Very confident. He was running the ball, like he was before, getting those first downs, and you're gonna have hiccups, you're gonna have incomplete passes, but he kept firing away at his receivers, getting us involved and trusting in us as well.
Go to Don Williams.
Eric, you mentioned last week you were working on the jugs gun and with Allen and whatnot. You said working on your hands. So a couple of passes I remember that you didn't hang on to. Did you consider those drops in your mind? I think you got hit on at least the first one I remember for sure, and maybe the second one too. Did you feel like those balls you should have come up with?
100%. I should have made those plays, most definitely, and I beat myself up about it. All last week, this week, going into practice, I'm gonna be doing the same thing I was doing in the bye week and preparing that way. And for the rest of the season, could have came up with those, but this week I'm gonna show everybody what I can do. So.
All right, we'll finish with Eric Kelly.
Eric, you already mentioned how it's kind of tough to get into that game day kind of mode right away, and with you guys having a Big 12 game this early in a season, is it the same thing offensively, or are you guys kind of able to transition from practice to game pretty easily?
We rep the same plays over and over and over again, and until it's perfect, and we run it against the scout to see, if it'll work against the Texas defense, obviously. And I'm very confident. I'm very excited for this game. It was my best game last year, so all I want to do is go out there and do it all over again, and produce more. So.
You're one of the leaders in this group, despite only being a sophomore. Is it kind of weird being still technically one of the younger guys, but be a leader? And then who's a freshman who's kind of stood out to you as a wide receiver?
Freshman that stood out to me is Jalen Polk. He's as of right now my backup, and we're always talking. It's very competitive between me and him, and I feel like he's gonna be a great player here. So being a sophomore, I feel like I've been here. This is my redshirt sophomore year, so I've been here for 3 years now. A lot of guys haven't been here as long as I have, so I feel like an older guy already.